Now, in this latest video, watch how Imran Hosein exposes himself when he claims that when the true conquering of Constantinople occurs in the future tense, look what he says will actually happen.
The first missiles fly from Turkey, because when that happens, Turkey will be at war with Russia. But the foolish people who are ruling over Turkey don't realize that. Once Turkey is at war with Russia, Turkey will be destroyed. Once Turkey is at war with Russia, listen to me, the Turkish armed forces will be destroyed. And that is when the prophecy of Nabi Muhammad Aleyselam will be fulfilled. That a Muslim army will then conquer Constantinople because the Turkish armed forces have been destroyed. And when we conquer Constantinople, our Prophet, Allah's blessings be upon him, praise the army and praise the commander. But those who have only peanuts in their head, oh no, it was that Sultan who was praised. Let them stay with their peanuts in their head. They can't think. Yes. And so when we conquer Constantinople, inshallah, we will return Hagia Sophia to those to whom it rightfully belongs. And that...
Notice, he says that Constantinople will be conquered by who? By the Muslims. They will go, they'll conquer it. From who? He doesn't really say Imran Hosein. From who? Is it the Russians? The Christians? Is that who will be we will be conquered? And then what does he say?
Would be the catalyst which will cement the alliance between the Ummah of Muhammad ﷺ.
So it will be returned to the catalyst. Who are these catalysts?
And the Ummah of Nabi Isa Aleyselam. And these two coming in alliance will then complement the alliance between Russia and China, which pose today.
So notice what he's saying. So he's saying they will conquer it, the Ummah of Muhammad, and the Ummah of Muhammad will then give Hagia Sophia to the Ummah of Isa Aleyselam. Who's the Ummah of Isa Aleyselam? Isn't that the Muslims? Isn't the Ummah of Isa Aleyselam also the Muslims? Because Isa Aleyselam and Imam Mahdi will be together. So this doesn't make sense. Imran Hosein, his whole argument has been that Fatih Sultan Mehmed made a very bad error of taking Hagia Sophia from the Christians. Right? And so he's against Fatih Sultan Mehmed. But here he's saying that the Ummah of Muhammad, the Muslims, will conquer Hagia Sophia and return it back to the Ummah of Isa Aleyselam. The catalysts, who are these?
The prophecy of Nabi Muhammad ﷺ will be fulfilled. That a Muslim army will then conquer Constantinople because the Turkish armed forces have been destroyed. And when we conquer Constantinople, our Prophet, Allah's blessings be upon him, praise the army and praise the commander. But those who have only peanuts in their head, oh no, it was that Sultan who was praised. Let them stay with their peanuts in their head. They can't think. Yes. And so when we conquer Constantinople, inshallah, we will return Hagia Sophia to those to whom it rightfully belongs.
And who is
that
that?
would be the catalyst which will cement the alliance between the Ummah of Muhammad Aleyselam and the Ummah of Nabi Isa Aleyselam. And these two coming in alliance will then complement the alliance between, and these two coming in alliance will then complement the alliance between Russia and China, which pose today the greatest threat, the greatest obstacle to the Zionist rule over the whole world, and therefore to Dajjal wanting to rule the world from Jerusalem. This is my initial analysis. There are others who are far more competent.
And so there you go, folks. So he's basically saying that the Muslims will conquer Hagia Sophia and return it back to the Ummah of Isa Aleyselam. Who's the Ummah of Isa Aleyselam? So he's not saying it's the Christians. He's saying it's the Ummah of Isa Aleyselam. But the Ummah of Isa Aleyselam could be the Ummah of it could be the Muslims. Right, so what is he saying here? He's saying that the Muslims will return it back to the Muslims. And where in the hadith, and this is the point, this is what I'm saying, folks. Where in the hadith, this guy brings the hadith here, where in the hadith does it say the Muslims will conquer Constantinople and return it to the Ummah of Isa alayhi salam? Where does it say that in the hadith? You know, he always says, oh, we manipulate the hadith and we say, oh, this is referring to Fatih Sultan Mehmet conquering, you know, in the first instance, and then in the second instance, there'll be a second conquering, right? He says, oh, no, you know, you guys have got peanuts in your heads. But he turns around and narrates the hadith and he says the Muslims will conquer it and return it back to the Ummah of Isa alayhi salam. So the Ummah of the Muslims, the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will conquer it and return it to the Ummah of Isa alayhi salam. I don't know whether he's referring this to the Christians, because if he is, that's wrong, because Isa alayhi salam is the Ummah of the Muslims as well. So not only is he inventing his own interpretation, because the hadith doesn't say return. Once you conquer it, you return it back to the Ummah of Isa alayhi salam, whether he's referring it to the Christians. The hadith doesn't say this. Nowhere. I challenge Imran Hosein to show me the single hadith that says return it to the Ummah of Isa alayhi salam. This is proof that this guy is making it up, and he calls us, we have peanuts in our heads. This goes to show he makes it up. And I don't know whether he's trying to signify to return it back to the Christians. If he is making a false claim, because the hadith doesn't say this. If he's saying it's the Ummah of Isa alayhi salam, if that is, then that includes the Muslims. So what's he saying? That you're going to conquer Constantinople, the Muslims are going to conquer it and then return it back to the Muslims? Doesn't make sense, because this guy was attacking Fatih Sultan Mehmet for conquering Hagia Sophia and taking it, for the Muslims taking it off the Christians for themselves. And he started blasting Fatih Sultan Mehmet for this. And here he's preaching that, oh, the Muslims are going to conquer Hagia Sophia and return it to the Ummah of Isa alayhi salam. Well, who is the Ummah? Who is the group of Isa alayhi salam? It's going to be the Muslims. If he says it's the Christians, where in the hadith does it say this? So he's twisted. Wallahi, the guy is twisted, and he calls us peanut heads.